Right, welcome to another episode of Red and Blue. Today we're going to do something a few people have done before, but we're going to try and make things a little bit different. We're going to do a quick fire opinions.
On footballers that have been destined to be somewhere, been brought in for a big money sum, basically had a high expectation, never lived up to it, faded off, and are now sat in the gutter somewhere with the rest of us. Okay, I guess I'm going first here with this.
So first I've got for you Michael Johnson. You
Lovely
tell me about
doings,
Michael
yeah.
Johnson.
So Michael Johnson. At least he's not Adam Johnson. That's possibly one good thing that can be said about him. Yeah, from what I believe, he was a really talented footballer, and from what I saw, he was a really talented footballer. That kit he's wearing there obviously was the famous Sven kit. Sven sort of gave him his first real big break, I think I'd say, and his first actual chance in the team. I mean, speaks for himself. Everyone, raved about him. He's going to be, future England star. He was destined for greatness. Let's put it that way. One thing
I think we were linked with him at one point.
There was a few clubs, that were sort of sniffing around after him, and given our sort of presence at the time, I mean, we weren't sort of the European superpower we are now. We would, little old city. We were happy with beating you guys twice a season. That was season complete. Do you know what I mean? That was us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think injuries didn't help him. He got a lot of injuries. I can't really remember the specifics of him, but he was a bit like Micah Richards. He was very on and off.
Jack Wilshere.
That's it. Yeah, he was. When he played, I remember him having a game against Derby County, and he come back from injury, and he was just unreal. He was like, you looked at him and thought, God, how old is this kid? And as a City fan, it was exciting because it was like, one of the first good things to come out of the club possibly since Micah Richards. And it was like, yeah. But I think, after the injuries, and things started to get to him, and then, I think mentally he slipped off a bit. He started turning to drink, I believe, and drugs and food from the looks of the size of him now. And I believe now he does I think he's either addicted to gambling or he owns something to do with gambling, like a casino or something, but I find that hard to believe. I know that he runs his own business as well on the side, and he is pretty successful with it, but just makes you wonder what could have been, doesn't it, really? Especially with, the international stance as well.
You got to think though, that money at such a young age. It's hard to think what you'd do with it. I don't know what you were like when you were a bit younger, but
I mean, do you reckon Phil Foden looks at him and thinks, "Please, no.
I don't want to be
Please, no." He must do.
He must
yeah,
do.
For me, he's one that it's actually quite sad because I just wish that he would have been he'd lived up to expectations that everyone had there for him. And yeah, that's all that can really be said for him, to be honest.
So fair enough. It's just regret.
I've got one for you now, anyway. Obviously we've prepared these for each other, pre-prepared if you can't tell already. Federico Macheda. Talk to me.
Federico Macheda. Now, in the reserves, I think he finished top scorer back-to-back, one Player of the Year, and obviously that goal against Aston Villa is quite iconic. Even from your perspective as a City fan, you can see it rerun quite a few times.
One of the many games I used to watch for you guys and think, please lose.
We almost did. But yeah, he looked the part, and obviously there was so much hype after that goal because it was a really good goal. And then he backed it up the next week. He scored, but it was like, Harry Kane's goal in the World Cup where he scored the hat-trick. Loftus-Cheek hit it, and it hit the back of him. He didn't really know much about it, I don't think. But yeah, he just looked such a good player, and then something happened. I don't know. He changed his shirt number. Not that should matter, but it does apparently sometimes, according to Luke Shaw. So he changed his shirt number to 27. He came back the following season, didn't really get a chance, to be honest with you. We kept him on another couple of years. I think it was 2 years, and he scored a penalty against Palace, and then I think that was the last I saw of him. And then he went on a few loan spells, relatively unsuccessful. And he even admitted the other day that he should have gone to a Premier League club.
I mean, that goal that you scored there against Villa, I remember that goal quite well. I remember running to the crowd afterwards, didn't he? And was it some of his family?
I think it was like his family, yeah.
Did that goal win the league? Is that like the league-winning goal?
It didn't win the league, but I think it got us back to a couple of points clear of Liverpool at the time.
Okay.
I think we got beat by them the week before, and that sort of got us back on track. Or I could be wrong. It could have been that could have been a couple of weeks before, but
So it
it
was
was
a
an
little bit like the
important
Coventry
goal.
against Leicester with an important
Yeah,
size.
it was the most important goal that season, to be honest.
Right.
So yeah, and I mean, obviously at the time when he took Tevez off and brought Makeda on, and you're thinking, whoa, what's he doing? But that's Fergie in it. It's fresh blood. No
Yeah.
one's seen him. Sometimes the unexpected can come. So yeah, I'm really disappointed how it turned out. I believe he's still playing in the lower divisions in Italy, and he's doing all right. But what a waste! It's just one of them. I just think he looked like he lacked the focus and maybe the drive to make it to the top. But nice guy, he seems anyway. From I've seen him in interviews, so not much else to say about him really.
Move on to the next one, shall we?
Yeah, I think this one is a good one for me. Robinho, I have fond memories of him signing and thinking he was joining Chelsea.
Yeah. Oh, this old one. Now I have a hell of a story about this transfer. My little old self at the time. It's funny actually. This possibly isn't necessary to the story of Robinho. It's just my own personal memories of him and what I remember of when we signed him, because that was the maddest day in my life for football. Really, it was crazy. I remember sort of sitting in my bedroom.
Did he get took over the day before he came in?
Yeah, the day before. It was late on the day before we were taking over, and we were hearing, the billionaires, the trillionaires, the this, that, and the other. They're putting all this money in. Anyway, the day after was transfer deadline day, and I remember us being linked with Fernando Torres, Lionel Messi. We'd put bids in for all these players. I remember just sitting there as a City fan, just like, am I dreaming? Like, what's going on here? What is going on? And we'd put a bid in for Robinho. Obviously, I knew him from Real. I was like, Robinho coming to City? Is this real? I didn't want to have my shirt. It was like, do you know what I mean? And yeah, I remember they were like, like I say, we were putting bids in for Messi and Torres and all that, and we got Robinho, and it was like seeing him stood there with his shirt. I mean, granted to him, he looked terrified and confused next to Mark Hughes. A little bit like I've made a severe and continuous lapse of my judgment sort of look.
Well, I mean, he was expecting to go Chelsea.
Well,
what he said in that first press conference.
Well, there was the whole thing where he said about United as well, didn't he? And he didn't know there was two clubs and all that. You see that all the time. But yeah, I remember we signed. It was like, wow, this guy. We've signed Robinho. Like from Real Madrid.
Let's talk about him as a player. Tell me about him as a player.
As a player, really technically gifted, obviously. We already knew that. First season was unreal, well, first half of the season was unreal. He lit the ground up, scored a goal on his debut against Chelsea. Every game he played in, really, he looked dangerous, he looked threatening. He got a real good, dink goal against Arsenal as well, a little chip over Almunia, I think it was at the time. And he was sort of important in the UEFA Cup as well for us, with all his goal scoring, and his, even his presence was good. I think in that team, he made Stephen Ireland look a hell of a player. And we found out in his testimonial recently, in company's testimonial, that he isn't. So, yeah.
Do you like Stephen Ireland?
Yeah, he was a great little player. Maybe he should have been on this list.
Maybe he should have. David Silva modelled his new haircut on him last year.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
An hair transplant.
He looks up to him. Anyway, yeah, but he's, like I say, first 6 months or so, maybe 6 to 9 months, I'd say he was great. He just sort of, I don't know what happened. I don't think he got injured. I just think he just fell off a little bit. He had a bit of a dry patch with goals. It's not even like he was replaced, really. I mean, his competition at the time, I think he played centre forward or like left centre forward, and his competition was like Philippe Caicedo or like I think Vassell was there at the time.
And now I'm pretty sure he's convicted, and he did something. I'm sure I read something about it.
Yeah, something like that. But I think he's still playing. He's got who does he play for now, Robinho?
He was at Milan, and
is he
that. And I think he went to a Russian club.
I think it's a Turkish. It's a Turkish club. Is that Besiktas or something? Not
Besiktas.
Not
Bashikar or whatever they call it.
Yeah. And I mean, he's doing
terrible
right.
pronunciation there.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I guess he lived up to his hype. He come to us sort of at a point where maybe he'd already peaked.
Probably.
And he's coming down the other side of that. But I remember when we signed him, and they made a promise that they were going to sign, Kaká and bring all these other players in. And yeah, that went pear-shaped. Thanks, Gary Cook. Rest in peace. Gary Cook isn't dead, just for the record. I wish he was.
Wow, ruthless.
He embarrassed our club, that guy. But no, he was a great little
Yeah.
player, Rubinho, for the 9 months he actually could be asked. And then, after that, he sort of slipped off a bit. He played, I think he got dropped completely. And then he played a game against, I think it was Scunthorpe in the Cup. And he scored a
was
goal and
awful.
everyone's like, Rubinho's back! And it's like... And then I think he played the week after against Sunderland or something at home, and he don't think he touched the ball, and he just kept throwing himself on the floor, and he fell off basically, and he was never gonna sort of last. I don't think he was never gonna
Wow.
make it to that level where we are now. There's absolutely no way he'd be anywhere near that team, even in his peak form. I don't think.
Probably not. No.
Anyway, next one I've got for you is
God.
Adnan Januzaj.
Adnan Januzaj. He was probably the brightest spark in that terrible Moyes season.
I mean, he looks like he should have a dummy in on that picture, really. He's very baby-faced there, isn't he?
I'm sure he was only 18 when he came in, 17, 18.
Jeez.
I think Fergie put him on the bench in his last game ever against West Brom. That crazy game where it's 5-5. I know for a fact you've picked a player who scored a hat-trick against us that day. I think he scored 4 goals, actually. Follow me at the end of that. So thank you for that. But yeah, Adnan Januzaj, sorry. So yeah, he was a bright spark out of the Moyes season. I got really hyped, obviously. The 2 goals against Sunderland. There was an amazing run against West Ham. The passing looked good. He looked the best prospect we'd seen come through that academy for ages.
Yeah.
And it was just a real breath of fresh air. And I think even the Premier League didn't expect him to be as good and as ready as he was that season. Like, arguably, he could have been our player of the year that season. That's how bad we were as well. But obviously, when Van Gaal came in, the first season, he changed his number to 11. And again, that shouldn't matter. But you got to think the guy
What
who
is
was
it with your
following
players
on
and
from,
changing numbers and it
I
having
know.
a detrimental impact on performance?
Well, 11's a big number for us, isn't it? I mean, Ryan Giggs wore it for God knows how long. But yeah, he just didn't look the same player after he took the number 11 jersey.
Yeah.
We've had a few players like that. Valencia didn't look the same. I think Valencia's was actually probably the leg break, not just the number 7.
Yeah.
But Januzaj, he just didn't really do much under Van Gaal in the first season. And then I think he went on loan to Dortmund after he started like the first 3 games in like the number 10 spot, and he played all right. He scored a goal against Villa and played all right. But then, yeah, he went on loan to Borussia Dortmund. Obviously, didn't get in because we weren't as good as Borussia Dortmund then. So why were they going to put him in if he wasn't he was getting in regularly for us? But
Yeah.
Borussia Dortmund were on another level to us at that point. So I didn't really understand why he went on loan, and then when he came back, it just didn't work out, and we ended up selling him to Real Sociedad, and I think he's still there, and I think he's doing quite well there. But obviously, he was big around the dressing room. I think even like Pogba and stuff knew him and knew of him and how good he was. But it just didn't work out, unfortunately.
It's a big number, that, isn't it, to give to a young player, I think.
It is. I don't think it's a good thing. It's too much pressure for him at that age. And obviously, if we do end up signing Jadon Sancho, again, it's a risk with the number 7, but I think Jadon Sancho's on another level to this guy.
I can't hear that name. It makes me wince what Pep did with that poor lad. Makes me wince.
Well, maybe it is one mistake, eh? But yeah, I ain't got much more to say on Januzaj, to be honest. What could have been is what I will say.
Which is
What
the
could have
same with
been.
most players in this list, I think, for both of us.
I mean, I think I've got a couple for you that weren't necessarily awful.
Oh God, I'm not looking forward to this. Okay, so next we've got
Big Mario Balotelli,
good
famous
lord.
for lots of things. Obviously, a goal in a very dark day for me. A couple of goals in a very dark day for me. Not being able to get a bib on properly.
That's it.
And that back heel. That back heel.
I mean, this guy. I mean, yeah, that was one of the first things he sort of did in a City top. That back heel. He was mental. That guy. He was. Sorry, it wasn't one of the first things he did. No, but he was just a bit mad. He was Mancini's son basically when he obviously had no real parents to sort of guide him, and he looked up to Mancini. But this guy was just mental. I mean, you find that most people talk about him more about what he does off the pitch and what he did off the pitch, because he was just unreal. I mean, anything from, like walking around the town centre giving out money to people, to
Fireworks in a bathroom.
And then also to the other extreme of finding out a kid was being bullied at school, driving to the school, approaching the boys. It's like, you just never see it, would you? It's just
I think he's a really cool guy, and he's someone I'd love on a night out.
I think
what was he like as a player?
As a player, I feel like we could have got a lot more out of him, but I do feel like he was young when he was with us again. We had him in a very early
lazy,
point of
wasn't
his career. He was lazy. He used to do weird stuff. But
I remember that shoulder goal.
That's what I was going to get onto. The one thing he had was confidence, and he really backed his own ability. Like, he knew, he had a swagger. He knew he was good. And I think that's what was going to take him far in his career, and that was what was going to, sort of define him from the rest, because he had that sort of confidence and that swagger. I mean, I remember his penalty taking, he used to just stand there, cool as ice, looking the keeper in the eye. Didn't matter what the situation was, he just slot it in. And he never used to celebrate, if you remember.
Oh yeah, he said a postman doesn't celebrate for delivering his letters, so why should I celebrate for scoring a goal?
Yeah, and I somewhat agree, but can you imagine if the roles were reversed in 2012? And Aguero slid it through to Balotelli and he scored, and he just stood there. It might have killed the moment a little bit.
It might have took something off that goal, mightn't it?
It required the shirt off and swinging situation, didn't it? But that was his only assist that season, which still amazes me to this day. That was his
tells you a lot about the player.
I know. Well, that's another thing as well. He was a bit greedy, and he used to do weird stuff. I mean, like that pre-season game with the back heel. I mean, Mancini. It was dead funny. It was like a father and son. Like, he used to be like, if he did something silly, he'd be like, get him off. Like, you could see him turning around like, right, Jacko, go and warm up. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, Serge, go and warm up. Go on, you need to get out there. I'm not having him on anymore. And it was good to see. I mean, I know he's playing in. Is he playing in France now?
Is he no, it's Italy, I think. Yeah. So
he's gone.
He went back to his hometown club.
Yeah. Well, he's obviously he went to Liverpool as well, so I'm not sure how I feel about him in that respect. Given the situation now, but he didn't really do an awful lot at Liverpool, to be honest. And I think he just did it more for he needed a club, really, and I think he was struggling to find one. But footballer-wise, he was really technically gifted. And to be honest, how old is he now? He possibly getting
nearly 30, isn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say he'll possibly still get there, but I'm not sure if he has reached the sort of levels that people had set out for him when he joined our club. Like I say, he was a good footballer, but now he's going to be considered for the rest of his sort of life. When they look back on his career, they'll be like, Balotelli, yeah, he was an average footballer. He was a nutter, but he was an average footballer. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things.
Yeah, he had him in Euros, didn't he?
Yeah, God, that iconic celebration as well.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. That's what you remember of him. Do you know what I mean? You remember the stupid stuff he's done, the crazy stuff he's done, but not the.
Yeah, he filmed himself scoring a goal as well, didn't he? Celebrating a goal, sorry.
In France, yeah, he scored a goal, didn't he? And then he ran to the crowd and he got someone... Was it his phone? Someone had his phone,
I don't know.
And he went live on Instagram to celebrate. And it's just... I mean, it's funny. It's just so funny, but it's like... I don't know, you wouldn't see sort of top-level players doing that, do you know what I mean? And
no, you don't see like your Agueros and your Rooney's of old doing that.
Well, I think it's a good job. I can't remember if he was sold by Mancini or Pellegrini. I seem to think it was Mancini.
I think it was. I think he was. Was he with you for 2 or 3 seasons? 2 seasons.
I think it was 2. Yeah, it wasn't that long. But yeah, because otherwise he'd have gone on free. Yeah, I think we sold him and got a bit of cash out of him. But
so cult hero status then, yeah.
If it were, well, the thing is, for me, he's always a hero because he's one and only assist. I actually think that might have been his only assist ever for us. Put Aguero through to score the goal to beat that team to the league title, and give me that Phil Jones's reaction face just to have him a frame on my wall forever. Because even if we never win it again, that would have been so worth it. Anyway, we'll move on because I know you don't like talking about
that. Gives me anxiety, mate.
Next one I've got for you is Kleberson.
He came in with Ronaldo, and when he first came in and you'd first be watching, you'd probably think this guy with the history he has won the World Cup, he'd be the one we talk about as a superstar, not Ronaldo, the young prospect we found at Sporting Lisbon from the back ends of Portugal. But yeah, so he came in and it never really worked, did it, from the start, to be honest. He scored 2 goals, I think, for us, and he was only there for 2 seasons, and I think he got loaned out and then sold. It's one of Fergie's flops. He did make a couple of bad decisions, Fergie, in his time. Signed a couple of flops. There's a couple of names that aren't on this list.
Can I just say that top is well too big for him?
It is, isn't it? So yeah, I think for Cleberson, it's going to be the shortest one for me, really. I did watch a few of his games, and he just didn't offer anything. I'm not sure what he really was. People were questioning what Fred was at the start of the season and comparing him to Cleberson, but now you can't make that comparison because obviously he's found some form. He's kept his form up, and he looks a decent player at the minute. But maybe not for 50 million. But we won't get into that right now. It's about Cleberson. So he just never did it, really, did he? He wasn't crucial to that Brazil team, I don't think, even though people say he was.
Do you think you were promised too much?
I think we expected too much, being a World Cup winner, but he was coming from Brazil. I mean, what can you expect? Football's different over there.
That's it.
It's not as physical, especially back in them days when you're coming up against Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, legends of the game. You've not got much of a chance of getting in the team. Really.
Getting into the team.
I'm glad we've not brought up Jemba on this list because he came in the season before.
That'll be in episode 2. Right. Next one you've got for me.
It's Wilfried Bony.
Big Wilfred.
He was meant to replace Aguero, wasn't he?
Score some goals for Swansea. They go wild. Bloody hell. Wilfried Bony. Oh.
Didn't score many goals for City. I think you've got a rare picture of him scoring a goal, haven't you?
No, that's him looking disappointed because he didn't score.
Right.
Yeah, this was a weird one. I mean, I think he'd been at Swansea. Well, he'd been in the Prem at Swansea for about 6 months, was it? Maybe a year and 6 months.
I think it was a season he did at Swansea, and he did well, didn't he?
Well, his first season he wasn't great at Swansea. Let's be honest. He
not?
He didn't stand out too much. In his second season, he did, like he was banging him in. And in Jan, we needed a striker. I think we'd sold Dzeko and not replaced him, and I feel like Jovetic had gone as well.
And I feel could have been on this list.
Maybe Negredo had gone as well. I think we might have been down to like one striker. I think we were because we put Milner up top in one game because we had no strikers. And I think Serge got injured as always. That's why we signed him.
Was he a Pellegrini signing?
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. He was one of them signings where Pellegrini was like, who's playing really well. He's one of them managers, Pellegrini. Sometimes he was like, right, who's had a good season? You have, right, we'll sign you. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to fit in. And I mean, that's a classic example for Big Wilf over here. I mean, he off the pitch, I guess he seemed like a nice guy, good personality to have in the dressing room. He just didn't have the ability. He didn't have the technical ability. Like you said about Cleberson, he just wasn't good enough. I don't know what he actually brought to us. I don't know how many goals he scored for us. I can't imagine it was many. I remember we brought him on the Champions League once against Barcelona, and
I bet he looked well out of place.
Genuinely felt like just walking away from the game because it was like, oh, what we've brought on Bony, yeah. I bet Gerard Piqué's knees are knocking.
Because we're doing this over the computer, I'll look on his Wikipedia page, and he actually got 6 goals for you, and he was there from 2015 to 2017.
Well, this is the thing, and this was a classic City move with this transfer in that we signed him for big money, and then when it came to getting rid of him, it was like, oh, well, they don't want to pay his full transfer fee, so we'll loan him there, and then we'll loan him there, and we'll loan him there, and we'll pay 70% of his wage. Do you know what I mean?
I think you've only actually loaned him to Stoke, and then he joined He went back to Swansea. I don't know if he cancelled the contract.
I can't imagine he went to Swansea for much. I really can't. I mean, I wouldn't buy him for. I don't even think he's a double figures million player. Honestly.
Well, he spent a season on loan at Al Arabi, and now he's at Al Ittihad.
There you go.
So,
and that's what became of him. But
Wilfried Bony.
The less said about him, the better. On the ball, he was dreadful. In the air, he was good, but we had Navas who couldn't cross a road at the time. And then, it was a combination of a lot of things. I feel like, maybe 4 years before, he'd have been really good for us. But at the time, we were sort of light years ahead of where he was, if that makes sense. Like, he just didn't fit us at all.
No.
I mean, I believe he went back to Swansea and he scored a few goals and he did all right, but I don't
He
know.
didn't score that many.
In fact, I've just actually looked since Wikipedia now. Yeah, it looked like he banged him in at Swansea. We signed him and killed his career, which we seem to be good at, with some players.
Yeah, some people it just don't work out for.
That's it. Yeah, he never got a Premier League title to his name. Because I remember that kit. And
Well, he would have won it, didn't Pellegrini won it in that season?
No, it was the year after.
Oh no, yeah, Pellegrini won it in the year Moyes was in charge, didn't he?
Yeah, the chosen one.
That was the year before then, because 2015 was when Bonnie signed.
Can we just
for you.
clear up? David Moyes is being called the chosen one on this.
I do
channel.
not refer to him as
on
the
this
chosen
channel,
one.
David Moyes is the chosen one.
No, he's not.
Is his contract run out yet? Anyway, we're going off topic here. Right, yeah, the less said about Bonnie, the better.
Less said about Moyes, the better.
Dreadful signing. He was never going to push Serge out of his position, was he? Let's be honest.
No,
so
I agree.
Let's
Dreadful
move on.
signing.
Tom Cleverley.
Tom Cleverley. Oh, what a guy. He was actually a personal favourite when he first broke through. I went to the first game after that game where he came on against you guys in the Community Shield, and
don't remember that one.
He looked really good in that. We won 3-2. I mean, we were 2-0 down at half time. He looked good. He changed the game really. He got us passing and moving quicker, and you guys couldn't live with it. But then he played against Tottenham in the home game, and West Brom was the first game of the season, but first home game of the season, and he put an amazing cross in for Welbeck to score. I wouldn't deem Danny Welbeck a failure, so I'm glad he's not on that list, because he did what he said on the tin, really, Welbeck. But Cleverley, he got a lot of stick, actually, to tell you the truth. We won the league the following season. I think we were quite a few points clear of some other team. I can't remember who it was, but Tom Cleverley was a big part of that league win, actually. Him and Carrick were the preferred two, because Scholes was a bit out the door then, if we're honest. But yeah, the following season when Moyes came in, Moyes kept picking him, and he just wasn't the same player. Yeah. Again, I don't know if it was the manager's tactics, whatever. He was probably telling him to watch videos of Darren Gibson at Everton, even though he was already at United and he failed. But yeah, and then people turned on him, and he was made a bit of a scapegoat for all our bad performances. And it wasn't just him; the whole team underperformed under Moyes, and it was a bit sad at the end when he left, because I still thought he could have been a good player, and he's just had an average career in the end. It's what could have been. Maybe he just wasn't as good as I thought. He just looked good in the reserves.
Yeah.
He scored a cracking goal in pre-season where he flicked it over someone's head, and it was awesome. It was a good goal. I remember the American commentators going wild on it.
What a goal in a soccer game by Thomas Cleverley for Man United.
Something like that, yeah.
I can just imagine. It's so cringe.
But yeah, so he just... Again, it was someone I had high hopes for that just disappointed me. And he went to Aston Villa on loan, Everton, and obviously now he's back at Watford.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe he was just an average player. He's not added to his England cap, so even you could say Everton are a reasonable club to be getting in the England team if you're playing well. So obviously, he just wasn't all that.
Fair enough.
Unfortunate to say, but he just wasn't all that. I think the next one I've got for you is Iliquim Mangala.
Oh, good lord.
And this is your last one, actually.
Big Manga.
I'm pleased to know.
Batman, that's what they used to call him. I actually think he's finally left, although he might be on one of City's famous loan deals. This guy.
I think he has left.
I remember his debut against Chelsea. We obviously signed him for 50 mil, which at the time, I mean now 50 mil for a defender's standard. But then that was quite expensive. That.
You signed John Stones for 50 mil.
I know, yeah, I know. And do you know what? I don't hate Stones. I actually feel a bit sorry for the guy. But that'll again covered some.
It was only 32 million you wasted on Mangala.
Was it only 32?
Yeah.
You see, I've got a standard set price in my head of 50 mil for any player now. But
he only left in 2019. Yeah, you're right.
Well, he
two loans.
He went on loan to Valencia, didn't he?
And Everton.
And then Everton, and then...
Because I remember that one, because he came back, didn't he, and put his shirt on for your little title celebrations.
He did, yeah.
Because he played a couple of games.
And do you know what? In those games, I remember... we had loads of players out injured. I remember seeing him on the team sheet. I think it was like a Newcastle away game. and I thought, oh my lord, this is going to be ugly. Like, because I knew what he was like on the ball. Like, he's not a Pep defender. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, I was fearful, and he played really well. And I think he played the next 3 or 4 games, and it was like, are these other players going to get back into the team? Like, Manga's playing pretty well here, and then obviously he got dropped. And
He made 9 appearances that season for
I
his
know.
medal.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You see, and them 9 appearances were. He was crucial. Do you know what I mean? He played really well in all of them. Like, couldn't really fault him in any of the games. Like, he'd never
Maybe
really
he
put a
wasn't
foot wrong.
a complete disappointment then, but obviously judging him on those games, maybe he wasn't a complete disappointment, but
I
it
feel
was
like
just a bit underwhelming.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I feel like Pep got the best out of him, like he does with most players, if I'm being honest. He sort of got the best out of him. He still wasn't ever going to light the ground up, but I don't think Pep was ever going to keep him. Pep's a pretty savage manager, as we know. If you don't fit the bill in, then ta-ta. He's done that with a lot of players that we had sort of hanging on, which I don't really disagree with, to be honest. But Manga, from the start of his career, he had a very hefty price tag and a big sort of expectation over his head. His first game against Chelsea, I remember that, and he was awesome. I think he covered the most blades of grass on a pitch for the season in that game, like for a defender for us. And he was everywhere. It was like, bloody hell. He was everywhere. Like, everywhere you looked, it was like, oh, Manga's won it again. He's got the ball again. Oh, he's passing it again. And it's like, well, now he thought he's going to be amazing. And that was the only good game he really had. After that, it just sort of slumped. I think he might have made a few mistakes in the game after. And it just completely floored his confidence, and he just could never get back to it. But luckily, when Pep came back in, it looks like his coaching and guidance sort of took him, not back to where he was, but maybe past where he was and past where he's been before, into like a different type of defending. Because I do think he's a bit like Otamendi in that he's an old school defender, and he'd much rather, like a train crash through someone.
Lump it out.
Yeah, he'd rather just, if you got one-on-one in the box. In fact, he's possibly better than Otamendi one-on-one in the box. He'd just try and use brute strength and force. Whereas Otamendi just obviously flies through people.
Dives in, doesn't he?
He loves it. You can see it going with that guy. Again, that'll be covered in another video, I imagine.
He's so rash.
Yeah, he really is. Like, he doesn't think before he makes the challenge. He's just like, yeah, he just dives in. It's annoying. We'll have to possibly create a video on that just to discuss.
What, on Nicholas Otamendi?
Just on him. I could do an hour-long feature. No, I'm joking. I don't hate him that much.
I don't think I could do that on Otamendi. Right. I mean, he's rash. He's a rash player.
But again, Mangala, going back to him, he's 29, so I guess you could say he's sort of peaked or at his peak now. It's different for defenders, isn't it, a little bit? But
yeah, true.
He's sort of there now. Has he got where has he sort of reached the heights that maybe he wanted to? To be honest, he only really had that expectation, I think, when he came to our club. I think when he was at, was it Porto? That Portuguese league's pretty uncompetitive, in my opinion. There's only a few teams that really compete. You don't have much of a challenge. And I think he realised how hard this league was when he joined us. I'm not saying he thought it was going to be easy, but I'm just saying I think he might have got exposed to not be sort of as great as people might have said he was. But I don't feel like there was a big expectation, so I don't feel like he was a flop, really. I just feel like he was a bit unlucky. And luckily for us, City as a team, he improved when Pep came in.
Fair enough, fair comments.
Okay.
We'll move on to the last one for me.
Big Rom.
I mentioned this one earlier in the video. He did tell me he'd have to put Rom in there when we decided to do this. Now, his first season wasn't too bad. You know what you get with Romelu Lukaku. You get like a spurt of goals, a spurt of a dry spell, and then another spurt of goals. So I suppose in his first season he didn't do too bad. In his second season, he was abysmal like the rest of the team. And then obviously when Ollie came in, didn't fit the way Ollie wants to play. I don't think Ollie actually wanted to get rid of him. I think Lukaku's been saying that. He always speaks in the media these days and he always refers back to us. It's a bit annoying, but he just wasn't right for how we should be playing. Like, we didn't have anyone that could cross the ball anyway. Valencia was a bit over the hill, in my opinion. He had a good season under Mourinho in the first season and second season, but everyone peaks in the second season under Mourinho, as we've found out through his managerial career. But yeah, Lukaku, he just never looked like he fit in, and he got on with Pogba at first, and then obviously when Pogba had the fight with Mourinho, he tried to distance himself from Pogba, and then he was back with Pogba when Solskjaer came on. So maybe he just tried to distance himself in front of Mourinho. I don't know.
Do you feel like the move to your club for him? I mean, he was a great player at Everton. Obviously, used to bang him in. He was easily, like a between 18 and 20 goals a season.
Well,
I think at Everton. Do you think he went to the wrong club at the wrong time?
I did allude to that in the striker video the other day, actually, that he probably should have gone back to Chelsea. But I think with Everton is, again, he would score in spurts. Like, he'd get 2 goals in a game, and then I think he was matching Jamie Vardy at one point for, when he broke the consecutive goal scoring thing.
Oh, really? I don't know that.
I think it was like he'd done 7 games in a row scoring himself, and they thought it was going to get broke straight after Vardy had broke it. And I think he got to like 8 or 9, and then, or maybe 8, I don't know. But he just fell off, and obviously he went on a bit of a barren drought, which he experienced in the first season with us. He definitely experienced that for the whole season, really, in his second season. He scored a goal against Southampton in the last minute. I think he scored the other one in that as well. He played all right in that game, but I mean, and obviously PSG away is a big moment. I wouldn't say necessarily was a flop. I just think it was the wrong move, wrong time.
I was going to say, in my honest opinion, I mean, I always laugh. You know what I'm like with Lukaku. I like to wind United fans up with it because because he was a big money move, wasn't he? And it was just funny to see him go when you were all sort of hyped for it, and then it just not work out.
As I said in the other video, I think it was a case he was a second choice. I think we wanted Kane, but obviously probably got told no by Daniel Levy, and you can understand why, because Kane is their main source of goals usually. So we went for the guy who statistically was second best in the league after that season, and I think he was statistically the best. So we signed him.
I just feel like the move came at the wrong time for him, if I'm being honest. I
think it could have been the right time. I think it was
definitely the wrong club at the right time, because I mean, you guys needed someone to come in and just sort of be like an instant impact sort of player.
Yeah.
Like when you signed Ibra, you knew you were getting someone who can, he can finish, he can score, he's not phased under pressure. Whereas I think Lukaku, I mean, he'd been at Chelsea, but he was only very young there. Went to Everton, he was really good there, but Everton aren't
There's no
United.
expectations on you at Everton.
That's the thing.
There's big expectations on you at United. But I will say, someone who is coping with them, and I want to get him a shout out because he's becoming a cult hero at United, is the Nigerian R9, Igalo. He's becoming a cult hero. He don't look phased by the shirt. I mean, maybe if we sign him, he might get phased by it. But
there's been rumours.
It's just really nice for us. Yeah, there has been rumours, and they've offered him a lot of money, but he says he wants to stay, and I think he probably will. I think he'd be a good stopgap for us. And he's done what he said on the tin, really. He's added another body up there, and he's surprised us, really. He's done really well. I mean, even against you guys the other week, a few weeks ago now. Obviously, it's not been football for a while.
Too long.
He was holding the ball up, and it is what it is. Lukaku was probably meant to be that, but I think the expectations got the better of him. And you can argue, obviously, Inter Milan have got huge expectations, but maybe Conte's just found a way to get the best out of him.
Fits right into the Italian striker profile, doesn't he?
He's big, he's strong,
That's it. So
that's what they like over there. Well,
I think that's the
end of
5
it,
each. That's the 10 players, yeah. If we didn't cover anyone, and you want us to cover who you think's a flop, let us know down below. There's going to be a lot of City players. I appreciate that.
We'll probably do another one of these later on in the week. I enjoyed that. Good.
Yeah. I enjoyed that too.
So
it was
please like and subscribe and check out the video. And got some more cool stuff coming.